Yeah, we have a red state, but blue, blue national leader. We had a very expensive race and duel for a Senate seat, which the most money in history was ever raised. And more importantly, as a network, we have our local agenda and what we do in a nonpartisan fashion for the justice of South Carolinians of all political partaking. So um, I'll just do a check-in with my some of my field experiences um, on election protection, and then I'll pass it to the XCOM, and then we'll certainly open it up to our full membership. So, is there a formal agenda, Kyle?
Where did he go? Kyle.
You are the agenda. We're going to let the people talk.
All right, well, I'll go first, and I won't be long. So this is my second go round with the network. I was heavy out in the field, and at the midterms, when we had our dual rack card with Smith and McMaster, and I was kind of patrolling all of the precincts in some of the more unsung areas, the Utahvilles and a lot of those outer perimeters of Orangeburg. That's pretty much what I did on election day and then leading up to it. So visually, we definitely had a strong presence with our signage, and then where we were able to have our capacity spread out with our volunteers. You know, I want to shout out the folks that work the hotline, certainly state office, and then definitely our field soldiers who were just out there really for election month. It would seem like, yeah, basically it was a month. And some trends that I saw, for the most part, everybody who got in on election day voted pretty early. So it was that initial long line on the front end. And I'd say about 9:30, 10-ish, most of the precincts I talked to, they said it pretty much tapered off then. So just folks were able to come in and be in and out very quickly. But as you hear from some of our other folks that were patrolling the precincts, and then, you know, folks manning the lines, a whole host of issues came up. Some not surprising, some very strange, you know, that you'll get to hear about. But we made some very good alliances in NAACP. We got a lot of new MVP, most valuable people, Missing Voter Project. A lot of the new recruits came through that channel and showed up and showed out for us pretty much all month long through registration, and then certainly after registration was over, just making everything situated. And again, the spokesman in the hotlines. Trying to think what else I saw. Pretty much that's it. Having the election protection shirt gave an air of officiality. So a lot of folks came up to me and either just asked me a general question about that particular precinct, and then a few folks that did tell me they had an issue were around when they went all one party. And then there was some difficulty in how the final ticket came out before they could put it in to get it scanned. So those are probably the most prevalent issues that I heard on my travels. But for the most part, I think that at least where we had a presence, and then I don't know if some other folks want to speak differently, I felt like we offered a sense of security. We definitely had to hand out flyers. We had our signage up. And I think the hotlines were a comfort for people who didn't feel like they had somewhere else to go. So I will pass it to my fellow ex-commas, MVP, NLP. Brett, you wanna chime in real quick and then keep the circle on?
My mouth is moving, but the noise isn't coming out.
Okay, now.
I was saying that I wasn't talk long. I was going to at least make noise while I was talking. This was our 12th election, well, 12th year of doing election protection. as the anchor for South Carolina. And people are realizing that all over the country, national organizations are partners in this. And you know, NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, ACLU, League of Women Voters, and we're the ones running it in South Carolina. And so my takeaway from the day was we still got a pretty good system. It's not run by an elected official. We saw for the first time in the over 25 years that I've been up close and personal with the Election Commission, the governor's appointees. The governor appoints the board hires a director. Then the director is just like a career civil servant employee, and they're doing a good job, as opposed to some states where the Secretary of State, who's an elected official, runs against somebody for governor. And that this was the first time in anybody's memory since they started the State Election Commission in 1964 that the commission overrode the staff. And it was ugly because it was clear politics, clear conservative, clear Trumpista, you know, fraud type stuff. And so that's a bad sign. And one of the other things that struck me was there were places like Lexington, South Carolina, that let us put our sign, our election protection sign, in their building. And they used to hide them and take them down. Same thing in Spartanburg. We had election directors in different counties thanking us. So that's a really good thing when you're running a revolutionary line about changing the system and you come down from the mountains and the villagers hide you. And so we're making relationships with the people that actually run the government. That's the good news. And I'm going to pass the ball to Marjorie Hammock, our co-chair of our education fund.
My activities were somewhat limited due to a number of things, including illness and a daughter who I called, well, I call her a couple of names, but I didn't go anywhere since the pandemic because I'm susceptible. In any event, my real contribution and my observation was I just found a number of people, elderly folks like myself, and I arranged for them to drive and vote. And so I took, I guess, about 14 people, all in the car, drove
So
up.
that's, yeah, so that's that fraudulent thing Trump's been talking about. I got it. Yeah.
There I was. And it was a wonderful experience on a number of counts. Number one, literally to drive up and have the voting apparatus put up to your car and the person can vote. So I did, as I said, a number of times, and everybody was successful in the process. But and largely I was at Parkland, and it was a good community, particularly with some Richland Northeast Dems, Tom Summers, who were out about passing out water and cookies and chips and stuff and encouraging people. And then there were some people who were doing a little bit of campaigning, but it wasn't obnoxious. In any event, getting to just talk informally with folks was a good experience. And the climate, the atmosphere was so very positive. That helped a lot too. And I'm really going to do a lot more with when we can move around freely with some of those groups that I was in contact with, who were in senior citizens' homes and other places of residence. That's it for me. And I stayed in contact really with the network, even though, as I said, Nurse Ratchet wouldn't let me go out.
Marjorie, you got to tag somebody to talk next.
Oh, Shannon, excuse me. Shannon, let's hear from you.
Hi, everybody. I guess first I have a question, Brett. How busy was your hotline?
Busier than the Obama year. We had 1,100 phone calls in 2008, and we had about 1,700 phone calls this past time. And again, it was mostly low information voters, but there's something to be learned from that, is that voting isn't easy here. It's not designed to be easy here. But yes, we were busy.
You were busy. Well, Richard and I went out to the about 6 precincts out here in the wilds of the outer reaches of Lexington County. And a couple of them were just slammed. I've never seen the precincts like that. And then a couple of them were just quiet and happy. But when we went before Election Day, when we went to the Lexington County Board of Voter Registration and where they did the early voting, I've never seen such a mass of people. It was insane. It was. If you were a voter in Lexington County and had to work on Tuesday and wanted to vote on Saturday, well, I feel sorry for you. It was insane. And I got to talk to the poll manager, and he was stressed but happy to let me put up signs, and everybody was happy to let me put up signs where we went. So it was a pretty uneventful day. Only had one person a little scary who looked like a undercover FBI agent, wanted to know what election protection was. So I very joyfully explained to him what it was. And he went, oh, okay. So, and I want to say, Chris Gardner, where are you? I know you're up here somewhere. Hey, Chris, we left a little precinct. I can't remember if it was Gilbert or Summit. And I walked in and introduced myself. And the guy said, well, Chris just left. And I went, oh, man, Chris and I double teamed this little tiny precinct. So we'll coordinate better next time.
Choose.
I guess who am I going to tag now? Let me tag. Let me hear Chris. I just called your name, Chris, so you follow up.
Sure. Yeah. I was also driving around on election day to different precincts in Lexington. For the most part, it was most of the precincts were pretty quiet. There was one particular precinct that I went to that was rather busy, but that was right around lunchtime. So I don't know if that precinct had heavy traffic the whole day or if it was just the timing of when I was there. Like I said, most cases there wasn't really much to speak of. I did have one case in the morning where right when the precinct opened, they had some voters from another precinct show up, and it was multiple people sent from the same precinct who had all said they had received messages, some of them through text, some of them through a Facebook page, and some of them through emails, saying that their precinct would be closed that day, and that was the precinct that they were supposed to report to, which did not end up being true, so that voters were sent back to their precinct. So there was a little confusion there. So that got reported to the hotline. Unfortunately, it was all secondhand information, so I don't know how far it needed to or was able to escalate past just being logged in. But other than that, it was, like I said, it was a pretty calm day throughout. I did have one poll worker who got really nervous when I showed up, and I was trying to be like, no, everything's fine. We're just checking in to make sure you're well and good. And I think she thought I was there to like give her a citation or something. So I tried to make her, comfortable with the situation. But this also was the precinct that was rather busy when I showed up. So it might've just been a stressful moment. But then, yeah, so that was just a little humorous. I tried my best to be like, no, it's okay. We're just observing. But other than that, like I said, it was a pretty uneventful day, and very low lines for most of the precincts that I observed.
Chris, sorry to interrupt you. If you don't mind tagging Vinetta Witt, she put in the chat that she's got to leave at 7:30 and would like to speak before that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you tag Vinetta Witt. Thank you.
yeah, Vinetta, if you'd like to speak next, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I already had another session planned at 7:30, and I'm actually leading that one, so I need to hop off. But I just want to let everyone know it's my pleasure to serve. I'm in Greenwood, South Carolina, so I was the only one serving here. On election day, I went to 5 precincts. One was in Abbeville County, and things were running smoothly in all of them. No real lines. In Abbeville County, they had to merge 2 precincts together, but they were able to accommodate them because they had a larger space in the building, the administration building that they were in. Then on Friday, I went to the election commission to hear them certify or to review the provisional ballots. And that went smooth as well. There were 7 of the 9 commissioners there, and it was led by the chairperson of the commission, but as he soon turned it over to the over to Ms. Moody, who is the director. The thing that I thought was interesting there was that she and her staff had separated the ballots into lots, and I reported it as such. And the lots were based on what the concerns were. And the commissioners voted on the lot. And she gave the rule for each one of the lots, and they are either accepted or rejected based on that ruling. What I was concerned about was there was no random selecting of the ballots that were in the lots to see if it really was what she said it was. But the commissioners basically accepted what her and her staff had indicated as the reason. She gave the number of ballots that were in that position. For example, lot 1 had 46 ballots, and the people had no photo ID, but they were able to verify that these were actual voters later and at the registration office. So the commissioners accepted the lot. A lot that they rejected was a lot where they had registered after the deadline, and one where the mail ballots were mailed without a signature. And I really thought that even though this was an efficient, organized way of handling it, I thought either the commissioners, board of commissioners, 2 or 3 of them should have been in on placing the ballots in the various categories so that they would have witnessed that, or they should have randomly selected a couple of ballots out of each lot to just preview, just to say that they did have an opportunity to verify, but none of that happened. I didn't mention that to her at the time, but we did speak afterwards, and she asked me to come back and we will chat. I've already sent my report in to Susan, I think it is. And I will get with Ms. Moody later just to give her some of my observations. But for the most part, things went very smoothly.
Thank you, Vinetta. And if you don't mind tagging Alys Campaigne who had a question in the chat. And Brett, if you don't mind helping to clarifying what exactly it was that the State Election Commission overrode before Alys gives us her report. And thank you, by the way, Vinetta. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your work in Greenwood.
Yes.
Your senator lost his seat up there, I hear.
Yes, and that was such a loss, but
Yeah,
he
good guy.
will go away. He'll still help out.
He will. That's
yeah.
one thing we can count on. That's why he was a good guy.
Right.
Well, we'll be in touch.
All right.
And
Thanks.
so I was writing this long thing, Kyle. It's probably easier for me just to say that she wanted to know what, when I said that the commission, these ones appointed by the governor, did their first override of the staff. The issue on the table was that the staff had asked, like literally in March or April, for the witness requirement to be waived. And the legislature said, okay. And everybody got to vote paper absentee without an excuse. And there was no witness requirement needed in the primary. And the staff, the election commission said, well, we still got a pandemic and we want that for the general election. And the commission said no. And then there were appeals all over the place. You know, the Democrats and other people appeal that because there's a pandemic. And the ruling was upheld in the local federal court. That was appealed to our Fourth Circuit, which is based in Richmond. And the appeals court overturned it and said, no, there's a pandemic. And you did it in the primary, so you know we know that's not unusual. And then the commission appealed that ruling to all the judges in the Fourth Circuit. There's 18 judges, and that's rare that all 18 judges will hear something. I mean, that's a Hail Mary pass to try and get all 18 judges to come together and overturn something that they heard. And the en banc is what they call it, the en banc, the entire judges. I think it was 14-4. I think maybe somebody was missing or two people were missing, but a preponderance of federal judges in this district that covers a number of states said, no, there's a pandemic, you don't need a witness. And the commission appealed that, which was like, you don't do that, that's tacky, to the Supreme Court, which then said, no, you don't need a witness, which was just, the whole thing was just like, oh my God. This was a show of politicized judicial action that I've never seen coming from South Carolina, and it was rather distressing. But put that in your pipe and we'll smoke it later.
But I think you misspoke though, that the US Supreme Court actually said we did need a witness.
We did.
Right, and in those last couple of days, you misspoke, so clarify that, sorry.
I'm not a lawyer, but I play one often on Zoom.
Yeah, after October the 7th, they did need
you're right, Vinetta, and that was one of the more offensive rulings that came out of the Supremes, was they said that even if it was legal for you not to have a witness, even if you mailed your ballot on time, which the cutoff was the 5th, I think it was, to actually mail it, but they said if your ballot is received after the 7th, even if it was mailed before the 5th, we're not counting it. So they threw out a lot of ballots in South Carolina. Well,
yes.
we haven't gotten a number yet.
Yes.
The State Election Commission will meet tomorrow to certify the county votes, and we'll be getting better numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
But we pay attention, and that at least people know that somebody's watching, which is all of y'all helping, and that's good.
Okay, thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Well, Vinetta, before you leave the room, throw a rock and pick somebody.
Oh, okay, let me see. Yes. How about Mary Ashley?
Hey, Mary.
Hi, sorry. I am in York County, and I think there are 41 precincts here, and I managed to get to 31 of those on election day. And I couldn't start till like 9:30 because I had legal observer work that morning. So by the time I got out, every single precinct I went to, there were no lines. So My husband was a poll manager at one of them, and he said everybody had cleared out of his by around 9 a.m. So yeah, it got quiet after a while. I went to the provisional ballot hearing, which I was under the impression it would be, it was the first one I've been to, so I thought it was going to be kind of quiet and short. It wasn't. It got a little spicy, and it was, I think they started at 9 a.m. and went until after 1 p.m. Some people were understandably distraught about why their ballots were not counting, but I can say that the commission there is really good. Since I'm no expert since this was my first time watching it, but the head of the York County Democratic group was there, and he had nothing but praise for the commissioners there. They handled it very professionally and explained very empathetically why the ballots couldn't be counted, and most of them were all for pretty much the same reason, which was registration issues. They missed the registration deadline. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was pretty quiet after 9 a.m. and I didn't hear of any issues from any of the poll managers that I know. So.
All right, Mary, pass it.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the next person who's right next to me on the screen. So, Carol?
Okay, hi everyone. Before election day, probably about 3 weeks before election day, I made phone calls. On election day, I think I went to 8 precincts. And everything really was quiet here. I was in Richland County. And so I think Bluff Road was the first one. It was in the morning time, so it was kind of busy. But the others were really quiet, and I just went in and told them who I was and what who I was representing, and there were really no problems. Any questions? Okay. Tom.
Well, thank you. I don't have anything specifically to report. I was not involved with any of the protection activities. I'm just listening in on the process and really enjoying and appreciating what those of you who have been involved with this are reporting and sharing. I've been with the network, gosh, since its inception in the early 1990s, and have really just cherished these opportunities that have come up. And I'm learning a great deal from my wife, Marilyn Summers, who is one of the founders 10 years ago of the Northeast Democrats, and a great deal of political activity through that group, meeting virtually. And before the pandemic, we met monthly and had the benefit of various people there speaking, some of the candidates from South Carolina, and even some of the presidential Democratic candidates, like the mayor of New York and a couple of other folks. So I'm just thankful of being able to be here and to still be at it. And I wish I could be more active, but in many ways I am. But good to hear some of you speak tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Tom. And just a gentle reminder, you've heard from, I guess, 7 folks, and we've still got another 22 or so folks to hear from. So just kind of everyone wants to give a general impression of election day, election week, election month, and any details you want to share with us, please do afterwards, and just send us an email. And Tom, who would you like to pass the baton to?
Well, I'd like to hear from Rick. Do you have anything to offer, Rick?
Yes. Okay, yeah. I'm here. I was trying to unmute. This isn't as easy as it looks. Yeah, I'm in Horry County, and I was a poll watcher at 3 precincts. I spent a few hours at each one. First one, it opened. I checked, watched the tape and everything. That was fine. Another one, the first one the line wasn't that bad. Second one, the lines were pretty long, but it is always a heavy district or heavy precinct that always has lines. They've split it in 2. They probably need to split it again. They started kind of late. I think they were 15 minutes late, and then with a computer glitch, but they got going again. And I think partly because of the split, they had a number of provisional ballots, but the poll manager, she was really good about that. I witnessed it, just sat there and watched, but she went through the whole process, and she did a number of provisional ballots, and that really kept things going. The other one, the third one, was pretty uneventful. Horry County Democratic Chairman today, they had a meeting. I couldn't go, but he sent around his certification letter, report, whatever. And Horry County was generally pretty uneventful. I guess there were 1 or possibly more precincts where there was an issue about getting provisional ballots. The poll manager was reluctant to do provisional ballots or something, but I guess they got it ironed out. And like I said, it was overall, it was a lot of activity, but it was pretty uneventful.
Thank you, Rick. And who would you like to pass the baton to?
Oh, let's see, who's still sitting out there? How about Michael Moton?
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Moton. I'm with the USC Upstate chapter of the NAACP. I'm the advisor. And so our students were able to do some phone banking, as well as sitting at a few precincts under the West Spartanburg branch NAACP. I actually sat at the auditorium for the in-person absentee for the one Saturday that Spartanburg County had. I think it was like 2,500 people came through. I was at the door so everybody could see the sign, and I think most people appreciated having a person out there. Didn't have any problems with any of the workers. On election day, I think because everybody had came early in person, there were not a lot of lines at the precinct I was at. We had one issue with the ballot machine jamming. That was the only time that the line, kind of started back up. We found out that one of the voters folded their card and then stuck it in there. So that was the issue. But outside of that, we were fortunate that the 2 precincts that we did go to, the poll managers were very professional, and they done a great job in keeping things moving. I saw another Michael, so I can tag the next Michael Earl, I believe.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Michael. So I'm from Benedict College with the NAACP, and I was lucky to have Mr. Brett and Mr. Daniel to give me this opportunity. I was at 2020 Hampton Street on election day, and the lines, it wasn't a big line. There was some issues with voters getting the absentee ballot, and they did not request for it, but they did get that taken care of. And that's all that that's all that I've seen on election day. And I will go ahead and pass it to Daniel.
I'm not sure. Oh, there's Daniel.
Here he is.
Okay, good evening. The revolutionary spirit of 76 flares up again, and it appears the revolutionary constitution of 1789 holds for now. Just want to remind everyone that Trump is a symptom. The forces of reaction that put him into power are still there. They still be facilitating more trouble, more antagonisms, next election, midterms, etc. So let's keep in mind, this is an opportunity to prepare ourselves. But the forthcoming crises are also opportunities for progressive mobilization. So let's keep that in mind. Trump is not a cause, but a symptom, and the disease is still here. So on that note, let me say that this is the first time I've had the opportunity to work the command center. For the past election protection, I've actually been boots on the ground, and now I can say I really can empathize with Brett having to stare at this screen for 12 plus hours. So Brett, I thank you for your past service and also guiding us during this election protection cycle. And also I want to extend my gratitude to all our volunteers, Michael Earl, Michael Moton, Tayaba, Mary Ashley, a number of people, Miss Singletary, etc. I hope I coordinated you somewhat coherently. I hope you found the process educational, etc. And don't forget, everyone, this data that we've collected with the election protection system, we're going to utilize that to address systemic issues. So this isn't just simply for this election, right? But it's for perpetuity. This is something that we can use to organize around. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for listening to me. I hope it was somewhat coherent. And who has not gone as of yet? Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, Councilwoman Teresio, have you gone?
I have not gone, and thank you for
Excellent.
calling on me. I'm just here to kind of listen to everybody's experiences. I had a different experience on election day. I was actually doing electoral work right up until 7 o'clock on the dot to, contact voters and make sure that they could get out to the polls. So I love the work that you all are doing, that I guess I can say we are doing because I am part of this. And just thank you all so much. And I'm glad to hear that. I'm heartened to hear that things were going well at the polls in the way that, to the extent that they were. So thank you all for sharing.
Next. Select.
Who would you like to pass the hot potato to, Councilwoman?
Oh,
Teresio?
I totally forgot about that part. Well, who hasn't gone yet? Does anybody want to go? I'm just flipping through the screens.
This is Reginald.
Reginald, would you like to go?
Yes.
Please do.
Okay. My experience was bleak, and the intentions to be a poll manager, receiving the literature from the Richland County election. That was, I had to go and request it, and I got a letter. I did the Zoom. The Zoom training was very, very mediocre. As far as the people training, it was complaining about how many people they needed to train, and there were only 3 of them. So I thought that was not too well informed. Sent emails in, didn't get to become a poll manager. So I had signed up to volunteer with the NAACP, did a few phone calls, and was making phone calls for candidates. running for Senate, and went to the polls, helped out with candidates running for office there, and volunteering my time not to be, in the way of anyone, but assisting with traffic, parking, curbside parking, and things of that nature. So my experience, it was somewhat a voters poll worker suppression looked to be. So that's what I dealt with. And I don't know who I can turn it to because I have limited names on the screen.
I'll start passing the talking stick. I guess I've been trying to follow who hasn't spoken. Let's see, Melanie is beside you on my screen. Melanie Knight, how are you tonight, Melanie? I'll unmute you, Melanie. We can't hear you. Hold on one second. If you're speaking. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't have any experience and I didn't help out, I'm sorry to say, but I did have a question. They said on the news that Biden wasn't really president unless the election had been certified by a Trump appointee. Is that true?
Watch different news.
Okay.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah,
Any other comments?
No. No, I'm sorry I'm not of more help anymore.
Well, thank you for being here, Melanie.
Thanks.
Finian Taylor calling from, is it Hilton Head? Finian Taylor? We'll circle back to you. Can't hear you. OT.
Hi, you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm OT. I'm a college student, and I been receiving your emails for probably a good minute. And so this is my first official meeting, and I've been hearing some really good things so far. I didn't work with you all. I was actually a poll manager for Richland County, and throughout my county, I was at, I think it was like Blythewood Precinct 3. In the morning, it was an influx of many voters, but the way everything was set up, because we were at a high school, no one really had to stand outside because it was really cold, and we were able to get people in and out. But as the day went on, much like you all, the lines decreased and we didn't have a lot of people. The election people who I work with, the other poll managers, they were able to clarify that we didn't have really huge issues, but I did have two issues that I had some questions about. And that was throughout social media, many people were saying that if they were not allowed to vote at that particular precinct, they should ask for a provisional ballot. And then from that ballot, they were able to vote that way. But one student, I wouldn't say student, well, he was very young. He came up and he asked for a provisional ballot, but my precinct didn't give him one. And I kind of wanted to know the reasoning why. He said that he had registered like the week before. So I don't know if South Carolina just wasn't doing provisional ballots for people who weren't in the system. And someone tried to bring in an absentee ballot, but that wasn't successful. So they made them go down to Hampton Street. I just wanted to know the specific protocol about it, because like the other guy, I went through the trainings, the Zoom and in person, and I found them somewhat helpful, but I think that there should be a bit more of action taken for people who sign up to be poll managers, because I found out the information like the week of or like months after I had already registered. So I think that was a bit of a suppression, I would say, for poll managers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm done.
Thank you, OT. Vince Matthews. Can you hear us, Vince? We can't see you.
You disappeared.
There we go.
Now we see you.
Now I got sound. Good to see everyone again. It's just sort of once again reconnecting here. It's great to see and hear what all has been going on. This is sort of my first time being able to really hear the depth of the network's engagement on election day with election protection work, etc. So that's energizing, given the sort of the state of affairs today. So I'm just looking forward to picking up from where we are right now and getting engaged for the next steps. Thanks.
Thank you, Vince. And Reverend Connie Nelson Barnes. Can you hear us?
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all, and it's good to be on the line. I saw Brett's invitation to be a part of the voter protection and sent him a note, and perhaps kind of gather early on election day with Daniel and some of that. And I would just want to say that I had the magnet on my car driving around town, and I felt like the voter police. It was quite a wonderful experience to know that people are watching and people are protecting others' right to vote. However, I visited 7 precincts during election day, and it was very uneventful. Lines were smooth, people were in and out, talking to each other. I'm not having any problems. And in fact, many of the poll watchers or those persons who were working said if there were any problem, we would handle it ourselves anyway. But it was wonderful to be a part of a team that the team that was ensuring that people's vote was protected. And I was just delighted to have been a part of that on election day. Thank you all very much for the work you're doing.
Reverend, we're going to ask you to bring that magnet sign back, but I think you should ride around with it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Reverend. And Tayaba? All right. Tayaba, are you here still? Did she go? Oh, yeah, there she is.
Yep, I'm here. Hey, this is really enlightening for me because this was my first time, and I'm so glad to hear everybody's experience. I was only able to help out on actually election day, and I was at Forest Lake Elementary School. So I got there around 7:30, and at that point there was still a little bit of a line, but it cleared out really fast. Again, I had a very positive experience, just like everybody else. Till I was there till about 11:30. Funnily enough, it looks like the longest time that people were waiting was the people who lined up early to vote because they were expecting long lines. But after that, after about 8 o'clock or so, I think nobody had to wait more than about 15, 20 minutes. We set up a table right outside where people were either able to walk up or drive past. And so like a lot of questions we were asked were like, which way do we go? The poll workers were really nice. They actually came out to ask us, about, for information and like, whom we were with and everything. And they thanked us for being there. Asked us, if we wanted to come inside or, use anything. So they were very open and it was a real positive experience. And in that aspect, and even like people in the neighborhood from across the street came over and said, thank you for doing this. So it was, I think all around people really did appreciate this.
Yeah, and I think Cecil, We've got you, Becky, and Brett. I think that's everybody. So Cecil, do you want to go?
I can be very brief. I don't have anything specific to South Carolina to report. My campaigns and elections team at work were doing some supportive work for educators who are members of NEA across the country, in fact, from Rhode Island to Alaska, who had gone through several months ago, almost a year ago, a training that NEA provided. And with only a few exceptions, these were folks in suburban and ex-urban areas, few rural folks too. And the reports that we got back from their campaigns and the team supporting them and their local affiliates were very similar to what I'm hearing you all say. It was smooth and uneventful on election day itself, and there weren't many snags. That's all.
Thank you, Cecil. And before we hear from Becky and Brett, Alys Campaigne came back. We lost you for a minute, but you're back. Do you want to speak to what you did?
Sure. Hi. I am in Mount Pleasant. In the lead up to election day, did a lot of targeted outreach with the Charleston County Democrats. It all ran really well. The early in-person ran really smoothly. I was trained as a poll manager. I found the training was okay, although they switched to the electronic ballot books and only announced that training over the weekend, and then had technical glitches. So that was kind of worrisome because it was a significant shift in the protocol. But that said, we had a really good clerk and it went really smoothly. The poll watcher was from the ACLU through the national team who came to our poll. And the only issue we had was, I wouldn't really call it intimidation, but the campaign surrogates being very aggressive for Nancy Mace, too close to the polls and kind of in the parking lot. So when people were coming in, it was, you know, they had to be told several times to stand back, but it was handled and it was fine with no conflict. So all in all went well. I just was concerned about the number of ballots that might not have made it there in the Postal Service. But that's another issue. So thank you.
Thank you. And Becky?
I'm really so happy to hear reports from the field from all of you. I didn't get to go out myself, but I was in the office. For those that don't know me, I'm the communications director for the network. And like Brett said, we've been doing this since 2008. And this year was different for a couple of reasons. One, because the voting period was extended, obviously. And so there was a whole lot more time to be looking at what's going on you know, at the polls and all of that. And the other was that for the first time we had an infusion of money so that we were able to pay some folks a stipend to go out and be the boots on the ground. And that was wonderful. I think that Brett and Daniel and Omari and other people that were training and managing those folks did a really superb job, because we're all just kind of learning on the fly about how to do all this stuff in the middle of a pandemic. So, and I thought that the folks out in the field really did represent, as you can tell tonight, really took it seriously, represented us well. And I hope that some of these folks, that the relationships that were built through this campaign, that they will last, and that some people will get engaged in the ongoing projects of the network, some of them electoral related and some of them not. But I think that I'm really pleased at the level of energy and enthusiasm that seems to be the offshoot of this really horrible campaign season. And I thank everybody for their hard work, and I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Thank you, Becky. Brett, you want to take us home with this item on the agenda?
Yeah, I want to share the good news that our strategy worked. And our strategy was, what are we going to have on November 4th and 5th? Not who's going to win November 3rd, because it doesn't make that much difference. In South Carolina, we can't change the outcome of state policy. The game is so rigged. And we also know that it's not supposed to be easy to vote. The people that win, the people that are the majority party who won, they don't care if you vote. They don't need you to vote. They already won with the people that already vote. And so there are these institutional hurdles that are there that we have to deal with systemically. And so we've got this kind of long-term vision about movement building, and we set out in January meeting. Omari and I met with the new president of the state conference of the NAACP, Brenda Murphy, who I can't say enough good things about. And we signed a memorandum of understanding that said that our most important goal for this, other than doing election protection and turning people out, was to look at the young Black people in South Carolina that have the worst voter turnout of anybody. And that as the young people aren't voting, it's because they see it's not making any difference in their lives. And so we have one of the only lines of voter education and motivation. Did we agree with them? No, it doesn't do that much good. You got to vote smart. You can really do good in local elections. We said you could change a statewide election. But the takeaway that we have was meeting the Michaels. Michael Moton is at USC Upstate, and Michael Earl Lyles is at Benedict, and the senior advisors are the people that will be there when the students go. And we had people that we were working with at both Claflin and Benedict, and that the work of being able to broaden our effort in terms of helping identify and lift up young Black people that could be leaders was our goal for the Missing Voter Project. And, you know, we did good. We didn't do good enough, but we will continue the work. And so we have, I think, a pretty good analysis that the system's so rigged that if you get caught up too deeply in the system, you're going to just keep doing that. And there's no end to it. So we have like systemic fixes in the works. And we'll be announcing real soon a statewide meeting that we want everybody input on. Okay, second Tuesday in January, there's a new legislature. What is the nail we want to drive this session? And I think it's redistricting. How do we message that? And so we'll have a meeting. I hope that we can pull it off before Thanksgiving. And before we leave, put in the chat box whether you'd like to see a statewide meeting happen on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon or on a weeknight. And that will help us pick it. And there's so much more to do and so much more to say, but I'm going to shut up and see if there's any questions and let Mr. Fox take it from here. Mr. Fox, you got words of wisdom. And I want to tell you that Omari Fox and Daniel are the type of people that we like to pay because they're doing the work for nothing. So when we get money, that's who we want to pay. And so we got the attention of some foundations that have never done more than send us a, we think you're doing great work, but we're not going to give you any money, because we became this kind of, just for a nanosecond, a battleground state. Because that's all the people with the big money cares about is who runs Washington. And you know what's after the elections? Our lives are about the same, because we can't change DC until we change SC and quit sending people that are inimical to our values to represent us in Washington. Mr. Fox, take us home.
Take
questions there. Cecil wants to say something.
Few things. I think we're our wheelhouse, and that there's that wheelhouse word. We can be the leaders in voter education. I think that mobilization was a little undersold. But the education piece, just from my time going to the precincts, and certainly, you know, the voter month, and then just, you know, registration and everything leading up. Folks are looking for an organization to join to get that education. We have a lot of points of entry into the work at different levels that are very attractive. And the fact that a lot of our work is nonpartisan is really just about being a South Carolina citizen the best way you can be, and showing up in that way is certainly the most critical thing. I will say I'm very enamored by the core of this particular group. I was around a lot of celebratory people when the national results came in. I was at the State House with my MVP and NLP comrades. MVP is Missing Voter Project, and NLP is the New Legacy Project. So if there are folks of all ages, but we certainly want to focus on the young up and coming organizers and a lot of the folks who got on board with election protection, we need you. You know, I think we do have a pretty good, solid critical mass of folks. Zoom has allowed us to have our monthly meeting, certainly at a more statewide pitch, but there's still work to be done that we're gonna close 21 with. I'm 20 with, and then we're gonna come out the gate pretty strong in 21. Certainly looking at, I think one of our keynote programs, which is the Majeska Simpkins School. So please inquire, please leave an email, myself, Daniel, Kyle, anybody, if you're interested in taking that next step beyond just election protection. And I do want to recognize the wins that I think we have. And I think for this election, the win was the heightened engagement that we saw across the board. To the point of missing voters, there still are a lot of Black folks out there who are feeling apathetic, and folks across just other ethnicities as well. But to my original point, I think that we can offer that place where folks can learn their chops and be the citizen that they want to be, engaged in a much more deeper and rich way. So I have a question. Would you comment on Richland County project that was discussed? So I believe you're referring to our Fair Maps campaign. So in a nutshell, it is a ordinance that allows us to ensure, and there's the key word for all you legal buffs out there, the key word is shall. So county council shall institute an independent commission, which would allow us to override the politics of gerrymandering at a county level. And we came out really strong with Ori in the beginning, and Richland, and I believe Wayne was taking up a few signatures for Lexington. But in a nutshell, if we're able to, when we are able to obtain 35,000 signatures of registered voters in Richland County, and we can submit that and transform gerrymandering as we know it in Richland County, which would then set the tone for a statewide battle. So please, Daniel put fairmapssc.com. We had a lot of various iterations of trainings for that throughout the year. So be on the lookout in 21 when we come back really strong on that. But we still have 6 weeks or so left in the year, and we're certainly not done. So we will be reaching out to you. Please check your emails, or please email us at network@scpronet.com or Omari@scpronet.com. Reach out to any of us, and we'll be glad to keep you on board and engaged, because there's certainly no shortage of work to be done. So for those who had to celebrate and take a deep breath, I think the sentiment that I got was people just felt more relieved at a national level more than anything, just because of the madness that we've experienced. But to Daniel's point, he was a watershed and a symptom of a much larger and deeper problem. But I don't want to discount the folks on this call, or the folks who had to leave early, and a lot of our allies in the network who are about the business of South Carolina citizenry. So I do want to let Daniel speak to maybe one or two anomalies that he heard on the call on the hotline day. And then if any of the ex-com comrades want to add anything to close out this call, and we will certainly see you on second Monday of December for our final meeting of 2021. But there will be other meetings and ways to engage. So this is not the only forum. But Daniel, do you want to say anything about any weird anomalies or just a crazy story that you might have heard before we close out?
Sure. So I think like Brett was saying earlier, these are not so much anomalous, but rather they're endemic, right? There are obstacles that are built in that go back to the Tillman Constitution. But I won't go give you a history lesson. Please attend the Majestic Simpkins School for Human Rights. But let's go to Aiken County, shall we? Where a certain precinct was requiring voters to put their hand on, again, I was talking about the Revolutionary Constitution, and say the voter's oath before they could vote. And if they could not speak English, thankfully it was a physician who called, who treats a lot of Spanish-speaking patients. She said, my patients would be turned away. And so we were able to call the Aiken BOE Board of Elections and address this issue. And so again, to all of our volunteers, our command center, etc., EP is absolutely vital. The Progressive Network is absolutely vital to the functioning of our democracy. And that's just one example. I have a whole range of symptomatology to discuss, and perhaps we can compose a report. But Cecil, I see you're...
When the instance like this happen, do we take steps to publicize them in the major media of the state? Because while I understand that absurd people will do absurd things in small corners of the state, it's valuable to shine a light on the absurdities so that they don't get repeated in the future.
Concurred. Brett, do you want to speak to that before I?
It's just, I want to make sure that we verify everything before we do our report, that we're not so much at grabbing a headline as actually fixing things. And we'll do, Aiken's got other problems. And so we're hopefully not too long from now, be able to take all that data, which we have. Cecil, you're recruited to help search through that data and aggregate things that we can find that are happening in a locality or systemically. And so we can actually change some things, like the Aiken County has a really bad habit of not turning in people that register at the DMVs. And we track that down, we find out which DMV, and we jump on them. And so we'll follow up on the Hispanic oath there. That we have, that wasn't a call yet. We don't have that in our database. We got to interview her. You have it in the database? Daniel's nodding his head. So we're doing assessments, and anybody that wants to help, we can share the data with you and look at it. One of the main things I think we can do this year, and we've been wanting to work on this, and we got some really good testimony, is that the system is non-functional because the people that make the rules don't want it to be functional. And so we have to be careful about blaming the fact they didn't call you back and all that, because the people aren't paid enough. They don't have enough control over the circumstances. The legislative delegation in each county appoints one of their friends to be the local board of elections. And time and time again, we've seen these people clueless and they don't pay attention. And so they don't care because they keep winning. But we will be doing things to actually tighten up the system, and we litigate. We win things by litigating, as well as legislating, as well as agitating. And so the thing that I think we can change before the next election is suing the state. Well, unfortunately, probably have to sue Marciandino again, to be able to conform completely with the Americans for Disability Act on curbside. They're not doing it. And the reason they're not doing it is they don't have enough money. The reason they don't have enough money is the legislature not giving them any, and they're counting on the county to come up with it. And the county can't even fire the people because the legislature appoints them. So there's this really good place to go and focus on the fact the system designed to fail. So thank you, Cecil, you're hired.
Brett,
yes, ma'am.
Daniel, I have one suggestion. Omari, your description of our whole voter thing was very, very good. I'm going to try and listen to it and capture it, but you also need to do that, because you explained the process whereby we change the nature of our election process very, very well. And I want to commend you for that. Thank you.
That's right. So for all you Richland County registered voters, we got something. We need that signature right now. If you didn't sign our petition yet, so.
Oh, okay.
But as they say, we shall talk.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass it to my fellow Leo, Ms. Rebecca Robbins, to say something profound and take us home. I know Daniel's very upset about that because he's usually the polysyllabic one to do so. But Rebecca, take it away.
You want to sing, Brett?
We have come too far.
We won't turn
around.
around.
We'll
We'll flood the streets with justice. We are
freedom
bound.
All right.
We'll do that in the round
Ashe.
next time. Everybody practice.
Ashe.
All right, onward, upward. Keep a smile on your lips and a song in your heart when you're smashing the state, kids. Remember that. Have a good time.
Bye.
Petition. Mario, your petition.
You'll never find.
What's the sign of the
No
petition,
matter where
Richmond?
you search.
Is that Reginald?
Mario. Fox. Just
Someone
Reginald.
who cares about you
like I do.
Believe that I do. All right, that's all you'll get. No free concerts.
I was asking for a petition, you singing.
I'm sorry.
I was asking for your petition and you singing. You say Richland County voters.
Richland County, yeah. You didn't sign yours yet already?
I'm asking you. I'm not aware of it.
So we can follow with you. The quick fix is you can download a form from fairmapsec.com. But just coordinate with one of us if you want to sign it live.
Oh, I've done those. Yeah, I got signatures, envelope, and I'm holding on to them to turn in when you guys get ready to get the fair map. So yes, I've done that.
No,
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we coordinate.
Okay, got you.
Those to us.